Magazine bans across this country are running rampant. This judge says it's okay. This judge says it's not. What's going on here? I want to take this time to thank our sponsor, Chase Medical, for not only supporting this channel, but offering what I believe to be by far the best prep you could possibly make. Getting emergency antibiotics for everybody in your family, as well as your chronic meds. There's certain meds that I have to take every day. Now I have a year's supply. They don't supplement what I get from my doctor. They're just sitting there in case I need them. And by the way, you can get $10 off now with a coupon code. That link is below. I want to take a moment and talk to several aspects of magazine bans across this country and why I strongly believe the Supreme Court will have to interject, because so far what we've seen is both federal courts and state courts have strongly disagreed on this matter. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court refuses to take up this case and just allows, well, really rejects any sort of emergency stay of these magazine bans. Recently in Oregon, Measure 114 was finally struck down. It bounced back and forth. It was upheld constitutional by the Supreme Court refusing to talk about this emergency stay. But eventually it was a state judge who put a permanent injunction on it and said, no, this is gone forever. Meanwhile, just north of there in Washington, magazine ban continues on. Also in Illinois, of course, they're wanting you to register any sort of firearm or magazine. It was banned. If you had one, you could grandfather it in by registering it. But in the end, now it's too late. If you have those, don't register them now because you'll be a felon. So I want to take a moment and just kind of talk about, first and foremost, when it comes to these bans, it's going to have to be addressed by the Supreme Court. I strongly, all they've done is refuse to address it. But they're going to have to, especially after what we saw with Oregon. You got the same thing going on with Washington, but in the opposite direction. Now you have Illinois, and I want to say again, do not register those at this point. You had to register them before January 1st of 2024. If you have magazines, don't register them. It's ultimately their ability to get away with this has really everything to do with them saying they're not banning, well, not Illinois, but when it came to Oregon, that they're not banning firearms, they're actually banning equipment that goes with firearms. That they can regulate that. They can make you register those things. They can tell you how many rounds you can put in each one of those magazines. But of course, a state judge said, no, you can't do that. And now really in the end, what we're looking at is we're looking at several states, quite honestly, really don't know what to do. Many of them are completely infringing on their citizens' rights. People all over the state of California, Washington, Oregon, Illinois are all felons essentially right now because of the things that the states have done that are extremely unconstitutional. Meanwhile, again, this federal court over here says no. This federal court over here says yes. This state judge says no. This state judge says yes. The Supreme Court is going to have to intervene. I do not believe that continuing to deny emergency stays on these cases is going to be able to float. They're going to have to eventually talk about magazine bans.